What's going on YouTube? My name's Nate Miller. I'm a fellow paintballer out here in Boston, Massachusetts. I thought I'd take some time to kind of go over my gear, what I've accumulated over the years, and really how I've transitioned from being an entry-level player to a more advanced player with better markers and gear. So I thought I'd kind of walk through the process of what it took for me to get into the sport, and for some of my friends who are kind of asking what they should invest in, what are good markers to use. I can maybe showcase some of the stuff I've purchased myself and accumulated over the years. So let's go ahead and get started. For all you that have been in the paintball sport for a while now, know that there's one particular marker that's kind of pioneered the sport and helped transition it into what it is today. What I have in my hands here is a Tippmann Custom 98. This is a mechanical marker. That simply means that it is not using an electric switch to shoot a paintball. It's actually just has a little lever up here that when you pull it, the spring actually forces the ball forward and out the barrel. This is actually the Platinum Edition. And what that basically means is it's a newer version. When I was younger, 15-year-old, I had the original one of these, and it ended up getting stolen somewhere in Southern California. So fortunately, it's long gone, but I had to relive my memories and getting back into the sport. This is the first one I had to purchase. When you go to the field and you rent a gun, you're going to have probably the same exact gun, actually one with probably electric switches and upgrades that I don't have here. But as you can see, I do have some other upgrades that I've put into it, just some for aesthetics, some for actually performance, and I'll just kind of go through from left to right, or from barrel to stock, of what we've actually done here. So for all you familiar with this tip right here, this is an Apex 2 barrel. Excuse me, it's the Apex 2 tip. This is the barrel that actually comes with it. And there's two options you can really do. You can buy the tip itself and buy a barrel that actually supports the tip. I actually just invested in the barrel with the tip itself. The downside to this is obviously it's only threaded to work with a 98. So if you're using other Tippmann guns like an A5 or an X7 or all the other ones, it actually won't even work. It won't even screw in. You'll have to get an adapter. But at that point, I suggest just getting a different barrel. But it works for this great. I don't really use any other barrels. The 98 to me is kind of, when I use it, it is kind of like I'm using it as a sniper or a recon sitting back. I'm not really being aggressive with my gameplay. So I really like it. And as you can see, just it's a nice long barrel, and you can really reach people with the Apex tip. The Apex tip itself, if you're not aware of what they are, it's kind of like a flatline system, which means it puts spin on the ball. So as the paintball leaves the barrel, there's a little, it kind of like curves down, and it forces the ball to have backspin, which allows it to move further down the field or the arena, wherever you're playing. So really great barrel, very popular nowadays, and I suggest anybody looking to get more performance out of their Tippmann or other markers to check out the Apex itself. Another upgrade I have here is just a Cyclone hopper or paintball feeder. And if I just take the actual hopper itself off, I can kind of show you what we're looking at. The Cyclone feeder itself can kind of come in a little bit more. As you shoot the gun, it actually has this little spiral start that will be forcing the paintballs in. And this is great because a lot of times you'll dry fire if you're like tilted sideways, or if you're not straight up. So this kind of helps the flow of paint, and it also helps it stops it from breaking paint, which is a huge thing sometimes with people playing. One thing to note is that this actually it works by when the CO2 or the compressed air, whatever you're using, comes to the gun and up the ASA through the internals. and actually also forces some air through here, which moves it. So it's simultaneous with your ball going through the barrel and out the gun. Another great performance upgrade. Some of the other guns I'll show you after this. Another one I have has this actually included with the marker when you purchase it. So I actually had to buy this separately because the 98 pretty much comes stock with this the body itself. A few other things I've done to this is double trigger, stock, RAV4 stock, and just a nice carrying handle. You know, it's kind of tough to have any kind of sight when you're using paintballs, markers, and your mask on, because the mask does kind of play. It makes it more difficult to see line up your sights, but you know, this works fine. When I'm playing, I actually kind of line up my head here and I watch the ball. I am a lefty, so I like to go this way. So if you're right-handed, you'd be going like that, but you know, a good player will switch back and forth. But as you can see, it works pretty well. And if you're looking to hit somebody down the field, this won't really get in the way too much. So this is my first marker. I want to show you most basic marker in the industry. It's going to be a really reliable marker because it's mostly mechanical. People have dropped these, banged them up, you know, got them wet and all kinds of stuff, and they just work. They don't want to quit. So if you're looking to get started, this is always a good choice, and you're never going to go wrong with a 98. So an alternative to the 98 that a lot of people are excited about, or you know, praise over the 98, is an A5, like I kind of mentioned before. And this A5 has a few little customizations to it. You know, the scope itself is a $5 eBay scope. I'll probably take it off when I play. It's just I put it up there because I didn't really have anywhere else to put it, and I figured why not. So, you know, it's a little red dot. I also have a flatline system right here, and this is very similar to the Apex. The Apex allows you to, I didn't really tell you, but the Apex you can actually turn and you can go around corners. This is a flat line that you cannot turn. It puts backspin on it. Underneath the shroud, there is a curved barrel. But however, this you cannot turn, so it basically is only going to put backspin to make it go further. As in the Apex is going to allow you to go around corners and also, you know, tweak the amount of spin it puts on it. So a little bit more flexibility with the Apex compared to the flat line. But you know, an aggressive player will also like the flatline system on their marker. In addition to the flatline, we have just a steel foregrip right here that I've replaced with the actual plastic one, and you know, it's gives you a lot more wiggle room, so you can really sit up, go high on it, and you know, tuck it in. And it also has the cyclone feeder, and this A5 comes with the cyclone. It's not really an option not to have it, but why wouldn't you want to have a cyclone over just a regular hopper? This is a lot better. So one thing I should note is that this is actually an original A5, as in the 98 I just showed you is one of the newest 98. So this is actually an older gun, even though this was designed after the 98 in terms of the internals, well, in terms of the whole the style of the weapon itself, or the marker. And you can see you actually cock it up front instead of the 98's back here. So between the two, I'd probably say that I would preferably use this, only because it's a little bit smaller and lighter. I can be more agile and swift with it. I can attach a nice strap to this right here and hang it if I want to be strategic about it, and pull out my secondary, which I'll show you in a second. But another great option, in another really reliable marker. There are threads out there with people arguing about which is better, A5s, 98s, and I'm sure in the comments you guys will go ahead and tell me what you think is better. But I enjoy both of them very much for mechanical markers. I've always been a Tippmann fan. I don't think there's anybody out there that won't appreciate or respect what Tippmann's done to the industry. And unfortunately, these markers just have a hard time keeping up with a lot of the electric markers nowadays. So they are kind of withering out in terms of people investing in markers to use for personal use. But you can rent these as well, I believe, places. And another fine choice for just using a reliable gun. And as you see, it has a nice, really easy to handle, really comfortable grip, solid marker. A lot of people actually say the build of the original A5s are better than the new ones. So I'm happy I actually got my hands on this. So, with that being said, I just showed you two kind of primary mechanical markers you'd be using on the field. So, a lot of people like to carry what we call a secondary. And a secondary, as you all know, when we play video games or, real life scenario or warfare, is simply usually a sidearm or a handgun of some sort. And this is my third and last Tippmann product that I own. This is a TipX. As you can see, it is a handgun. And it is also mag-fed, which is becoming a very popular style of gameplay with a lot of the projectiles coming out, like first strikes and a lot of the systems that improve the accuracy and shots you have with these. Excuse me. So I don't really have any upgrades on this, only because I don't really use my secondary too much. I actually use a lot more of my electric pneumatic paintball guns, which I'll show you afterwards. But still, a very, very, very solid, fun marker to use. A lot of people only use handguns. Some people dual weld them, so they'll have two in hands and they'll just run around. What you can do to this is you can do what you would do with any other marker. You can upgrade the barrel. So if I were to unscrew this right here, pull it out. Just give me a second. You can see it's just I think it's like a 6-inch barrel. You can upgrade to a nice longer barrel to get a more accurate, further shot. Not further, but it'd be more accurate. Screw that back in real quick. A few other things you can do. You can put like flashlights here with pressure plates. You could put laser. You wouldn't really use lasers only because it's not safe to point lasers at people's eyes, unless you're in real warfare where you don't really care what the enemy, what goes in their eye. But in this circumstance, we don't really use lasers in the sport because it's not really cool to shine people's lasers in their eyes. But you can also add a air coil, where you attach a tank to your back, so you constantly are just feeding air through the marker itself and just switching out your mags as you go. There are a few upgrades you can do internally. You can get a first strike ready chamber, and that's where you just kind of replace the internals. You can't really see it, but in there's a little area where the paintball is going to go in, and you can upgrade that. But again, I haven't really thought to put any money into this because I barely ever use it, but it's really cool to have. And some people say if you're going to buy a marker, this should be the first one you buy. I would preferably say go for some like more primary weapon, but another great option. One last thing I guess I'll mention is if you're not using compressed air and you're just using the stock CO2 system, you can simply take this little cap off right here, and then in that little hole is where you're going to put the little actual CO2 cartridges. And I actually have one in there, and I haven't pierced it yet, but if I were to have this in here and I were to pull the trigger once, that would pierce the actual cartridge, and I would get I would say about 2.5 to 3 mags worth. I don't know, some people have a precise number. I know I get at least 2 mags for it. And that's really good because for my holster right here, this is also a Tippmann holster you can purchase. You have your second mag that you carry right here. As you see, I think this kind of fits in right there. And then you also have an area right here where you can have more cartridges just kind of sit there, or CO2. Little mini tanks. So a great secondary marker handgun. There are a few others out there. I don't really know much about the others because everybody seems to only use these and buy these. So I had to get my hands on one and have it available if I ever did need to use it. We're playing with my 98 and my A5. So that's kind of my mechanical side of my paintball markers that I own. And I probably have the three I just showed you are probably the most common markers you would purchase in terms of investing in starter guns. They are kind of in the price range. The custom, the 98 I showed you, it goes for about 150 bucks with a mask and tank. What I showed you with all those parts was probably around $300. The A5s are around the same. It's a couple $100 for the A5. The flatline's going to be around 50 bucks. There are new flatlines. The one that I have on my marker is one of the original ones. A lot of the new ones have like shrouds and actual grips instead of just the circular barrel. So, you know, there's plenty of upgrades and plenty of options you can do to tweak those markers. But just going ahead and move along, I want to show you now the newer side of the paintball industry in terms of markers that people use. And there are, I'll go ahead and start with my backup electric marker and kind of tell you a little bit about what I have on it. What we have right here is a Mini GS made by Empire, which is one of the biggest paintball manufacturers in the industry. Everybody kind of knows who Empire is if they play. I have a few upgrades on this as well. Well, not really upgrades on the marker itself, but as you see, I have an upgraded barrel, 14-inch Empire 2-piece Freak System barrel. I have a 690 Freak insert, and I'll show you that in a second. I have a Spire hopper paintball loader, and I have a Empire Super Light 4500 tank. Very pretty light marker compared to the other ones I just showed you, and also a very aggressive marker. This is kind of more of a speedball style marker versus those are woods ball, but I obviously use for woods ball. I use those. I wouldn't really use those for speedball, but these I would use for everything. What is speedball and woods ball? Well, without getting too far into it, speedball is a new version of playing where you can either be indoors or outdoors in kind of a arena soccer style stadium, and the games usually only last a few minutes, as in woods ball is more of a strategic, old school way people played. That's what I used to play growing up in NorCal. We didn't really have speedball when I was younger, so woods ball is what you did, and I actually prefer woods ball over speedball any day of the week. It's a lot more, it's just, to me, it's more traditional, and it's kind of the way paintball should be played, but people will argue all day long that speedball is more fun. So whatever you enjoy, do that. And I play both. I play speedball sometimes in the city here, but I preferably like to go up north, kind of more into the woods and play with a lot more scenario style games with bigger people, more people on teams. So the GS itself is kind of I wouldn't say entry level electric marker. This whole setup right here is around 800 bucks. However, it is kind of a lower end marker in terms of if you're playing aggressively a lot and you've gotten to the sport, but with that being said, does not mean this is not a good marker. This is a really good marker for what it is. A lot of people will argue that the original Mini had a lot of issues, and I've never actually used one because I didn't really. I kind of jumped in after those were around. But if you use those triggers, they were just crap compared to these. They weren't very good. There's no feedback. But these new trigger systems they put in, the grips they have here, the actual aesthetics and feel of the marker are fantastic. Just kind of talking a little bit more about the other parts on this. The Spire right here is one of the industry-leading hoppers available. It's super durable, hard as a rock, never fails. They say you cannot jam it, or you cannot paint this flows through it. It is a side loader paintball marker, which means that it is not forcing the paintballs in there. It's kind of using gravity as a, I'll show you. So if I just turn it on in the back right here, you'll see that little thing wants to spin and force paintballs in. So it is an electric hopper forcing paintballs in by gravity, but it's not forcibly pushing them into the actual marker. So you're going to have a little less shots per second versus some of the other hoppers out there. And I'll show you my other one I have on my other marker, which is a faster, more aggressive hopper. But that's another, this is another hopper that does a great job, and people love these. So I suggest, if you are looking, to consider the Spire. The tank itself, 4500, really light. All in all, I don't really know the weight of this, but I can tell you it's a pretty light marker. I can hold it up like this and you know, throw it around. I'm not going to throw it around, but you get the point. So anything else I can kind of tell you about it? I will say, I'll show you the freak system real quick. So if I just go ahead and take my barrel off, this is all right, and I just kind of take this part and take it as a two-piece. The back part of this has the inserts I was telling you about, and what's cool about these is you can basically use all different styles of paintballs, or sizes, I should say, not styles. And it's great for if you're trying to bore a really, you know, precise shot, or you want it to be you want your shots to kind of be in line every single time. And to use it, you simply just slip it in the back, screw your front back on, and just screw it back into your. Let me get that in there all the way, and screw it back into your marker, and you are good to go. It is ready to go, and it will feed those paintballs in the barrel every single time. So Mini GS, this setup's $800. So you know, you'll probably have a similar setup to this. You'll probably get a 14-inch barrel, a nice electric hopper, and a nice big light tank to play aggressively. So consider this as an option. Alrighty, so moving forward to my favorite marker. Just come over and grab it for you. This is definitely my primary marker that I use 99, I wouldn't say 99% of the time, because I like to switch it up, but most of the time. This is my Luxe, DLX Luxe 2.0 OLED. This is a special edition carbon wrapped. Basically, that means it's just it's kind of dipped, or it's kind of wrapped in this little carbon texture right here. And this is actually a carbon barrel. So the barrel itself is going to be a lot lighter than a regular aluminum barrel. The body of the marker in this is pretty much the same weight as a regular Luxe. This doesn't really take off much weight. However, with I have a Ninja super light 4500 barrel with a Pro Rig. Pretty much one of the best tanks you can get for any marker. And speaking of you know, hoppers or loaders, this is the other one of the other industry leading hoppers. This is the Die Rotor R2. This is the newer one. As you can see, I actually have it already raised. But what's cool about this, it's the same design and same engineering as the first rotor. And for all you paintballers out there, you know that this is what the most popular one. People argue that the Spire's better. This definitely, I think, is a little bit better than Spire. I personally like this a lot better. It's a force-fed hopper. It forces the balls in. Can't really show you, but if you Google or YouTube, you know, the rotors, you'll kind of see. But it's constantly just trying to crank, just trying to force balls down the feed neck right here. So just a few things about this marker real quick. It uses a 14-inch carbon tip, freak system 2-piece barrel. So same as the Mini I just showed you, although the barrel here is going to be a little bit lighter. The R2 hopper itself is expandable, so I can actually put tons of paint in there. It says it can, when you expand it, it's around 260 balls. I don't know how many balls I've actually fit in there. I don't know if I've fit more. I've definitely crammed them in on the field excuse me, playing aggressively really fast, just throwing pods in there. But you know, maybe it only fits 260 to the max. I haven't really counted. You know, besides that, the other significant thing about the Luxes is that they have a talking board. So if I just turn it on for you, you can kind of hear it.
Powering on. Welcome to the Luxe experience. Battery level 100%. Firing mode semi-automatic.
So you heard it. It talks to you in your settings. Some of the other guns, you actually have to use the LED lights to determine the firing modes, the balls per second, and stuff like that. So if you hear it kind of clicking every time I click it, if I what's called ramping right here, so I'm basically just using 2 fingers with the double trigger, and every time it makes a click, that's essentially a ball coming out. So you can only imagine if there were actually balls flying out of this, how fast you would be firing these paintballs at your enemy or the opposing team. People, when I play with this and I just ramp, people turn around and they think I'm in full auto mode, and I'm not in full auto. I'm just sitting back here ramping, doing a little pop shot around the corner, and so I don't, words cannot express my feelings for my Lux. I love it so much. You know, a lot of the people in the field ask me what I think of it. This is a less popular marker compared to some of the dye and the Planet Eclipse markers they have out there. Some people say this is more about the style, and there's other markers for the same price that are perform better. However, I think this is one of the smoothest shooting markers I've ever shot, and it's kind of notorious for being smooth. However, people will argue, so I encourage you to give me your feedback and tell me what you think. Another thing to note is that with the R2 rotor, force-fed rotor, you can get a lot of balls per second coming out of this marker. So kind of the intimidation of having this shooting at you is what makes it special to me in terms of gameplay. So that's pretty much it. It's just like the, let me go ahead and just grab the GS for you real quick again so we can kind of compare the two. So this marker right here, just to give you a price point, the Luxe itself was $1,100. It dropped from like $1,500 to $1,100, so I got it. And the tank right here is around $225. The hopper's around $225. So you're looking at an extra $1,000 for the Luxe over the GS. But you know, in terms of aggressive gameplay, these are both going to be very aggressive style markers. They are meant for speedball. They're designed for speedball play. However, I use these for woods ball. I use them over my mechanical most of the time, just because I feel more comfortable kind of charging and being kind of a leader on the field with these. But yeah. I will say that they use different ways of firing internally. This is what's called a poppet, and this is uses a spool valve. What does that really mean? A poppet valve actually, the bolt itself actually hits the ball to force it out. A spool valve uses the air to force it out, so it doesn't actually touch the paintball. So, you know, what is that going to give you? That's going to give you allow you to have a quieter gun, because it's all kind of, it's not really making any physical contact, I guess. But it's also, it's going to be a little less efficient. It's going to shoot, I mean, I wouldn't say this shoots smoother because it's a spool. I think it shoots smoother because it's a better marker. But the poppet itself is going to be a little bit louder. Although this is a quiet marker for a poppet, but this is also going to be a lot more efficient in terms of your air consumption on your tanks. So really, it's kind of like, you know, they're both good markers to use, and you know, I would be happy using either one of these. If I didn't own my Luxe and I didn't even know Luxes existed, or I would be, you know, still be rocking this really hard and loving every minute of it. compared to the mechanical setup. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of the electric markers. I have one more I want to show you that's kind of work in progress. I haven't really got everything I need on it yet. I have to get a few more things to really make it complete in terms of a gameplay. However, I saved it for last because it kind of is a hybrid between the mechanical markers I showed you and the electric markers we have here. So let's just go ahead and put these down real quick. Okay, so last but not least by any means is my dyed dam. And one thing you're going to notice right now, if you are a dam owner, you're going to notice how my barrel is shorter than what you would have if you purchase this. This is actually a close quarters dam, which means that I didn't have any of the shroud, the stock, or this little foregrip. When I purchased it, I actually bought this stuff separately and I added it on because I wanted this. But you know, I got the close quarters dam version for $900 versus the $1,500 this would cost. So this barrel right here is only a 12-inch. I do need to upgrade to a bigger barrel for sure. You know, I could even put an Apex on here like I have on my 98. But I probably, for now, I would just use the Freak barrel I have on my GS because it uses the same thread. They use autococker threads. My Luxe uses a Smart Parts thread, I believe. So, you know, you need to know your threads in terms of your barrels and how they work with the other markers because you don't want to obviously cross thread or ruin those threads because that could have air leaks, performance issues, and you can just ruin your markers internally, which is not a good thing to do. So, you know, as you see, I have a scope here. You know, scopes are kind of gimmicky in paintball. When you have your mask on, like I showed you the other ones, it's really hard to see in the scope. You can't really see it because this mask is covering your cheeks. So even though it seems like it would be good if you just have the marker against your face, like in real life, when you have a mask on, you can't really see in it. Workarounds are actually, you get a riser so you can actually raise it up. And you also get what's called a die box rotor, which is essentially, instead of having the rotor or the hopper on top, you actually have it feed from the bottom. And I'll talk to you a little bit about some of the features in terms of the dam and what it brings to the table. But you can remove the feed neck, giving you kind of a very streamlined, realistic style gameplay. And it doesn't really feel like a paintball gun. It starts feeling like a real gun. So what makes this marker special besides the hybrid nature of it? Well, it's an electric marker, but it is kind of geared towards woods ball scenario gameplay. It allows you to use, with this little lever right here, allows you to use hopper fed up here or magazine fed. And for those of you getting into magazine, mag fed paintball, you'll know that First Strike compatible magazines like this allow you to be very precise with your gameplay and give you more edge on the battlefield in terms of precision. First Strikes, if you're not familiar with them, are projectile-shaped style paintballs that are recently come out by Tiberius Arms. They are more expensive, so you don't want to go out and do full auto with your First Strikes unless you're just, ready to blow cash on paint all day long. And paint at the field is already expensive, so you don't really want to try to do that with First Strikes. Plus, most fields won't even let you use First Strike if it's field paint only. But, I don't know. It depends where you are and what you're doing. So that's a cool thing about it. If I just turn this on real quick. Another cool thing about the dam that all the other markers, including my Luxe, don't have is the ability to just switch the shooting modes on the fly. So if you see this little OLED lights right here, I have three options. I have semi-auto, burst, and fully auto. So I have to turn the eye off real quick. But if you can hear it, you actually hear the mics on my neck, but it's shooting in full auto now. So really, really cool feature. You can be on the field. Say you want to do single shot, so you switch over to your mag fed, your first strikes, and now you're just being very strategic, kind of sniping people out. And then maybe somebody's running up on you, so you want to go to full auto. You switch it over, switch it down. Now it's going hopper fed with all your paintballs, and you're shooting full auto in close range. So really, really cool marker. So why isn't this my favorite of the Luxe? Basically, because it's a lot heavier, man. And you really can't, the Luxe is so light and the GS is so light. I find with this one on the field with all the paint and the hopper, it's a lot heavier to play. It's definitely more of a real life scenario marker, but people praise these, and I do too, which is why I own one. I think they're amazing. Some other features which you've probably seen in other videos is it has a little compartment here where you can store Allens or whatever it is you want to keep in there. And the only thing I'll mention is that because I have a stock on here, you can't really have the 4500 tanks that I have on here. You have to either have a smaller tank, the cubic, I forget what cubic inch tank actually fits on here, but I actually use a coil system instead of putting my tank on here. And that's, like I said before, that's where you can basically run the air from your back from a tank in a coil. Let me just go ahead and pull one up for you real quick. So we have a couple coils here. This is a Empire coil. It's what I would use for my my dam. It's a kind of a longer one, a little heavier duty. This is also a really nice coil, but this is smaller. This is a Ninja one. So I would use this for if I was using a smaller marker, or if I was using my Tip X, I would probably use this because it doesn't give you enough as much wiggle room, but it's smaller, so it's not going to be as bulky in the way. This is pretty bulky when you're hanging this on your side right here, but you want to use that for the dam just because it's a bigger marker. So just a few upgrades. I'd get a bigger barrel, probably get a 14-inch. I'm going to get a die box rotor, throw it down here, take off the feed neck, and I'll probably get a riser from my scope. And I probably will keep this scope on here just because I enjoy it. And with the riser, you will be able to use it. And just talking a little bit about this specific scope, it is a Valken Outdoor, strategic scope. It has both a, let me see if I can show you. It has both a red dot. You can see that. I don't know if it's hard to see if you can see it. But it also has a green dot. You see that too. So it has two different colors, and then on top of that, it has 4 different types of crosshairs: a single dot, single red dot, or a single green dot, a triple green dot. So it's stacked. Again, I'm sorry, it's hard to see if you can see through down there, but it has a 3/4, and it has a full crosshair. So a lot of different strategic options you can use with it, and really awesome marker. I bought 2 shrouds, the foregrip, the stock. This all comes with the full die dam if you buy it for $1,500. This scope was $50. The box rotor I'll get will be around $400, $500. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that will make this my most expensive marker. However, I will probably use my Luxe over this majority of the time just because of gameplay. But feel free to tell me I'm silly for that. So yeah, that's all my markers I own. In terms of the other gear I use, or some other stuff I've invested in, let me just go ahead and show you some of my masks and some of the other accessories I use. So really, the only one I really care to show you is my i4. I mean, most people know what the I4 is if you are a paintballer. They are, very stylized masks. They have a really good, big. Oh shit! Let me see if I can get this out for you. Well, I knotted it up pretty good. All right. Give me 1 second. There we go. Okay. So you'll see, I don't really have a lens on it, only because I keep my lenses in my lens case. So I'll just pull it out for you. These are really, this is from Exalt. This was $30. I open it up. I have different lenses in here, and I'll just kind of show you a couple. You can get different style lenses. This is the one I've been using recently. And pretty simple. You make sure it's unlocked and you pop it in. But unfortunately, I have to make sure this is unlocked first. So I'll just pop these little levers in and take the lens like this. Okay, pop that in, and push it back like so, pull back, good to go. So I'll show you what it looks like. That's the mask I use majority of the time, or pretty much all the time. My other masks I have from my friends when they play with me. But my favorite mask, the I4 from Dye, very popular. You see a lot of people using this. Some people don't like this because it does have a very low, it's the jawline, and this actually is the case on me. I have a pretty, rigid jaw, so my jaw actually sticks out right here, and if I didn't have a hat on, my forehead would be exposed. So, that is the downside to it. It is kind of more stylized and is geared towards the peripheral view or visions, and less about, I wouldn't say safety, but I would say coverage. So that's something to consider when buying a mask. This goes for about $150. The lenses are about $35 to $40, depending on what you get. The alternatives to those lenses to those masks are, I have a few others here I'll show you. Okay. So I have just a JT mask right here. This is an older one. This is an Empire Helix mask. This was $30. And this was a Titman mask that came with my 98. That was $150. This included this mask. So these are all around $30 masks. More entry level. This one, I don't really know how much this was. I got it with the A5 on Craigslist, but this probably is around 30, maybe a little bit more new. I don't really know what these go for. I know these are a lot popular. These are one of the people like these JT masks. So that's pretty much it in terms of the masks. I have a few other tanks here. Let me show you. Well, I'll just show you this one. I have a couple of 300 tanks. These are aluminum, so they're going to be heavier than my 4500 tanks. But these are good for when you're putting stuff on your back. If you're using coil system, they fit a lot snugger in the paintball harnesses. So the only thing everything is important to show you is kind of the harness which holds your pods. I'll show you this one first. This is just a pretty cheap pod holder. You have a pod right in here. It holds 4, and you have a little slot for your tank. This does hold a 4500 and 3000 size tank. However, I find that the 4500 tanks, you have to really jimmy them in there, and they're really hard to get out. So when you're going to fill your tank up, you can't really pull it out and hand it over to the field. You have to literally hand over this whole thing. So I would probably, I need to invest in a better one in terms of use it with my dam. But it's fine for now. This goes for around $35. Step it up a little bit. You have this Empire pod harness holder. This holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think it holds like 11 pods. So more paint than the air you can probably carry in one tank. But really, really great. This uses a 4-strap belt system, so it's definitely not going anywhere. And it has some cool little things built into it, like a little zipper for your keys so you don't lose your stuff in the woods, along with straps to tighten the pods if you're dropping them as you play. This is around $80, so it's definitely a step up in terms of investment, but I use this 99% of the time with my Luxe 99% of the time. So that's it. Some other stuff that maybe would interest you in terms of playing. You know, I have some gloves, but you know, you've seen. I'll show you. I don't really use my gloves too often. Oh, you see, here's some JT gloves. They got paint all over them. These were about $10. I have a few sets of these. I have a set where I cut off all the tips, so you can pull the trigger easier. These are the ones I didn't cut. What I'm holding in my other hands are talkabouts. I want to talk about, you know, when you want to be strategic on the field, you can use your talkabouts. Hand one to your buddy. Hey, how's it going? And you definitely can have serious gameplay with these and let your team what's going on. Say you're scouting ahead and they're back at the base. This is a good way to communicate. You know, when you're at fields, you'll see a lot of the staff using these to communicate in terms of letting people know what's going on. But you know, there's hundreds of different frequencies, so you get your own frequency. You get passed into other people's frequencies, and I really, really recommend getting some talkabouts when you play strategic gameplay. You're not really going to use these in speedball because it's so fast, over in a few minutes, and it's so small that you can kind of visually see what people are doing. But who knows? You may want to use these. Yeah, so besides that, you know, you may want to use a GoPro. I have a GoPro over there I could show you, but, you know, you've all seen GoPros strapped to helmets before, so that's nothing new. I have a bin down here that I got at Home Depot for $11. I'll show you kind of my bag itself. I have a nice, you know, this is where I put all my paintball stuff. My tanks go in here, put my Luxe in here, my hopper in here, my stuff up here. So a nice little backpack I can use when I'm going to the field. And what complements it is my rifle case I have. And I just get that in the scene or the shot. You see I have a nice rifle case. This is where I'll put my DAM and my 98 just because I can't really break those down like I can the other markers. So that's pretty much it, guys. I just thought it would be cool to show those people trying to get into paintball the different options you can have. You saw a wide spectrum of the entry-level mechanical markers to the higher end electric pneumatic markers that you can invest in. And the cool thing about paintball is that it's for all ages. Everybody's really cool. Nobody's out there to harm or to try to hurt anybody else. Majority of people are out there just to play. They love the sport. They love the strategic style of gameplay, the scenario stuff, and more importantly, it's a very communal, fun sport to get into. So I suggest if you are interested to, you know, if you have any questions, go ahead and shoot me a comment. You know, I don't really want to give out my email on the internet because, you know, who knows how many spammers are going to be out there. But, you know, feel free to comment and ask any questions. I'd be happy to give you some feedback. And yeah, I hope to see you on the field. Take care.